Welcome, everyone. I am so happy that you took some time out of your busy, busy day to spend about half an hour with us here at the Abundant Life Collective. So, welcome to our very first meeting or webinar. My name is Sarah Koval. I'm one of the founding members here at the collective, and I am so honored to be here and to be hosting tonight for the first night. I began my health journey many, many years ago, but I started to have a real big transformation in my health about 4 years ago. I went from being bedridden and wheelchair bound, and now I live a full, amazing, awesome life. And it is all because of nutrition and things I've done in the mental health sphere. So I am so excited to be highlighting our two experts tonight because I know that everything they have to say made such a huge difference in my life. So welcome, and I'm so happy you're here. So the Abundant Life Collective is a group of doctors, PAs, OTs, PTs, trainers, nutritionists, health professionals, really anyone who is in the healthcare world or caring for someone. We are a diverse, heart-centered community that empowers individuals on their journey to better health and financial well-being. With values of harmony, inclusivity, and growth, we offer a supportive space to build health, wealth, and connection. We believe that the journey should be fun, so expect a lot of community, celebration, and joy along the way. We will be gathering every first and third Wednesday of every month. Today's kind of an outlier since there's 5 Wednesdays in January, so we decided to do the fifth. So we are very happy that you're here. So we'll be meeting again on the first and third Wednesdays of every month to share our expertise and a variety of health topics to support those in our profession and the clients that they care for. If you would like to be one of our guest speakers, please reach out through one of the links that Crystal, our tech person, will be dropping in the chat, and we will set up a time to talk with you, and we would love to chat. If something that you hear today really piques your interest, please feel free to reach out to one of us. Crystal will be dropping links in the chat throughout the entire time, so you can either copy that or just click on it and it will open in another window, and you can set up a time to talk with us. We would love to chat with you about any part of your journey, and we offer free consultations with a one-on-one phone call, or Zoom call, whichever works best for you. So tonight's topic, let's get started. We are talking nutrition, exercise, and sleep, like the most vital things for health, right? And also we will be talking about how to care for your mental health as you're caring for other people. First, let me introduce you to Pam Nyatsambo, and she's going to tell us a little bit about who she is and a little bit about her journey. Pam,
Thank
take it
you,
away.
Sarah. Thank you so much. So I am in New Hampshire. I have been a physical therapist for 25 years now, mostly entirely actually in geriatrics. A lot of my time has been spent in skilled nursing and in outpatient home care therapy. So I have 2 kids that are 19 and 21, and I've been married for 25 years. So I was really excited to be asked to speak about this topic about mind-body wellness because I think, as clinicians, we all went into the field because we want to help people, but we're often the type of personalities that are likely to put ourselves last. So this is really, really important because, we've always heard you can't pour from an empty cup. So just taking a little bit better care of yourself can really help you provide more exceptional care to your clients. So I wanted to just go over some of the challenges that clinicians are facing right now, coming off of the COVID pandemic. I think everyone was feeling it, especially with excessive documentation, this need for insurance authorizations, staffing shortages, kind of a lack of appreciation, in general. Always like evolving guidelines, a lack of autonomy is really frustrating when basically a calculator is telling you how many visits you can see a patient for, but then you have these constantly increasing productivity requirements. Kind of compassion fatigue can set in when you're, with the ill and injured day after day. And then just wage pressures when, in this day and age, when it just doesn't seem like salaries are keeping up with the cost of living. So it can be a lot for a clinician to juggle mentally, and it is very stressful. So I just figured, let's talk about three major things that we can all kind of move the needle in for our health, including nutrition, exercise, and sleep. So as far as nutrition, to stay sharp, clear, calm, and compassionate, some of the tools that I've found that have really helped me. Balancing my gut health has been huge. I really have a new appreciation for prebiotics and probiotics, especially fermented foods that are like still alive. Fiber is like such an unsung hero in gut health and just keeping, we know the connection between the mind and the gut, and having that fiber is such an easy and cheap way to keep things regular so that you're, being detoxified, but also, feeling fuller. And omega-3s are huge with brain health. We know you can get them from the kind of fish, seeds, nuts. They show in studies that people who have a high levels of omega-3s in their diet actually have lower rates of depression and anxiety. So it really is key. Magnesium is a mineral that's really well known for calmness. It's easy to get in grains and seeds. And then, of course, our beloved B vitamins. Those are the happy vitamins that you can find in eggs and greens and beans. We also on this team really have an appreciation for adaptogenic herbs and botanicals that are, some of the ones you might recognize would be ashwagandha, rhodiola, schizandra, ginseng is really popular. Those can help with your overall resilience. The other thing we're really passionate about is protein, really high quality protein. And around Thanksgiving, you'll hear a lot about tryptophan, that kind of calming amino acid that's in some proteins that, makes you feel happy after a turkey dinner. But there's also really other important neurotransmitters in protein that you need to think clearly and have concentration and memory. Another compound that's getting a lot of press these days is creatine. There's just tons and tons and tons of studies on the numerous benefits of creatine and just literally no downsides as far as improving serotonin for sleep and mood and even neuroplasticity. So, we know our brain kind of matures by 25, but there still is room for, new growth and learning, and you can amplify that by increasing your creatine levels. They say 3 to 5 grams of creatine monohydrate really is a perfect dose for an adult. Another thing with protein is it really helps to stabilize your blood sugar, so you're not having big highs and lows, which is, not helpful if you're hangry during the day and you're trying to treat patients. So then the other part of nutrition would be hydration, and I think electrolytes are finally getting their day in the spotlight. We know that magnesium, potassium, sodium, those are really important. You can drink a ton of water. Ideally, like a minimum, I would say of half your body weight in ounces, but probably closer to like 100 ounces per day. But you also want the electrolytes to help shuttle that water into your tissues. Having a healthy relationship with caffeine helps so that you're not like using sugar and caffeine to go up, during the day. You can actually use adaptogens again to improve your energy. And then avoiding alcohol is really helpful. You don't want to be like putting yourself to bed with alcohol and then waking up with caffeine. There really are better ways to have energy from the inside so you don't have to rely on external factors. So there's some pretty simple things that you can do with your diet that would help improve, your stress level, your resilience, and your mood. As far as sleep, I think that, it's hard, if people are shift workers, but there really are tools that you can use to help improve your sleep quality, which absolutely everybody, well, who's had, a newborn or had all-nighters can testify to the role that sleep plays in your mental clarity. So some of the things that are coming out that they say improve your sleep is like seeing the sun, within, half an hour of waking up, and then even watching the sun set. Both of those things are said to improve your circadian rhythms, which really helps your sleep quality. If you get outside with some shoes off, for a little bit and do some grounding, because, we're very energetic and kind of like magnetic beings in, the core of the earth. It really can affect us in a positive way. Limiting blue light later in the night with our electronics can be hard, but it can be done, especially, if you kind of implement some rules around that. Even just lighting in general, if you have like more red tones for light, or even just reduce overhead light and just put lamps, they say that can actually help improve your, ability to get to sleep sooner. And then as far as overall sleep hygiene, your body actually has to dip in core body temperature by like a degree or two in order to put you to sleep and keep you to sleep. So, taking a hot shower before you get in bed and then letting your body naturally cool, keeping your room cool. And, you don't obviously want to have your TV on. You don't want to kind of reduce sound, reduce lights, reduce activity if, you can avoid, and it might be controversial, but avoiding having 3 or 4 dogs in your bed or whatever, whatever helps you sleep best. Having like a ritual really helps your body know when it's time to get ready. If you have a cup of herbal tea, I have some protein before bed because I found that my body's waking me up a little bit hungry, especially on days where I was more active. And then really, as a physical therapist, and just want to encourage anyone to address any issues with pain that, might be waking you up unnecessarily during the night. And then, of course, physical therapy. I had to talk a little bit about exercise and the role that it plays in mental health. There's actually these molecules called hope molecules that are emitted into your body, into your bloodstream through these myokine proteins when you're resistance training, when you're like lifting something to the point where your muscles contracting hard. These molecules help like reduce inflammation, and they improve resilience and act as little antidepressants in your body. They can help with emotional regulation. So that's really fun. There's another compound called BDNF. I'm not sure if you've heard of that brain-derived neurotrophic factor. It's like Miracle-Gro for the brain. So it's like it's talking about like your ability to like make new memories and learn new information that increases as you exercise, as do some of the endorphins and dopamine, serotonin, which all play roles in, sleep and anxiety and mood and reduction of pain. So one or two other things, I'll wrap it up, I promise. But just as far as like lowering cortisol and, which is a toxin that can cause brain fog, that exercise is known to reduce cortisol. It also helps increase like the gut-brain connection through improving digestion, increasing your microbiome diversity, and, even just the circulation as far as digestion and nutrient absorption. So if you're going to spend money on supplements, you really want to absorb them, and reducing inflammation in your gut and increasing, the absorption of them really puts that money to good use. So, I'm sure you all knew a ton about nutrition, sleep, and exercise, but, if we could just aim to be 1% better every single day, like in 90 days, we could make a big difference in, sleep, stress, energy, mood, and digestion, clarity, focus, and performance. So I would encourage you just to try one new habit, maybe just stack it with something that you're already doing. All right, thank you. I pass it off to Sarah.
So, Pam, that was just absolutely fascinating. And what was really cool is a lot of the things you talked about nutrition came up in exercise too, like the importance of our microbiome and how that helps our brain. And then, of course, like sleep is kind of like the glue that holds that all together. One question I have for you, after being a physical therapist for 25 years, working with many geriatric patients, if you could give if you could like tell one patient something that would have helped them to maybe avoid an injury when they were older. Like, what would that be? What's something that you wish you could tell your patients that they could have started earlier in their life, in midlife, or maybe to prevent something that they're dealing with by the time you see them?
Muscle is the key. I mean, we lose, percentage of muscle mass every year after age like 25, and if you don't do something proactive to keep your muscle, then we know the detrimental effects of that. So increasing, I mean, we also, as we age, we're not able to convert protein from our diet into muscle quite as readily as we did when we were young. So we actually have to have more protein than we did when we were young. So having at least 1 gram of protein per pound of ideal body weight is essential in fueling your body, but then you also really want to do some resistance training to activate those muscles for growth and for maintenance because your musculoskeletal system, it's just absolutely essential for, I mean, obviously for the functional stuff, for balance and, just doing your activities of daily living, but also it's a huge metabolic organ. There's no end to the benefits of having more muscle. There's none. None.
That is absolutely awesome. Um, I just want to mention that if you are as impressed with Pam as I am, Krista will be dropping a link in so that you can schedule a one-on-one call and talk to Pam a little bit more about any of these topics. We also have the Abundant Life Collective Facebook group in which all of us founding members and other members of the group are able to talk to us, chat with us, and we post a lot of tips and tricks to help with nutrition, sleep, and exercise. So please come find us there. And Crystal dropped that link in the chat so that you can check that out later. So Pam, just thank you so much. Thank you for pouring love into your patients. I could tell that you are just incredibly caring and compassionate, and they are definitely so lucky to get you as a physical therapist. And thank you for working so hard through all the tough years of the pandemic. And we're just so grateful for you.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so our next expert tonight is Cary MacArthur, LMFT. She's a licensed marriage family therapist, and she is going to talk to us a little bit about mental health. So, Cary, please introduce yourself a little bit more. Tell us a little bit about yourself, and welcome. We're so happy that you're here.
Thank you. I always enjoy any time I can come and chat with people that I love and new friends that I haven't met yet as well. Um, More about me. Um I guess I'm a mom and I've been married to my husband for 34 years. We just did 34 years. And we have 8 grandkids. They're my favorite people in all the world. And
Oh,
when I was a stay-at-home mom. I had started having all of my kids grow up and move out, and I realized that I had lost myself. I didn't know who I was. And in my own journey of reconnecting to that, I found how much I really love helping other people do the same. And so I've developed a coaching modality called Find Your Voice. It's specifically for women. And in addition to that, as I was, learning how to work with people, I realized that I like going deep. And so that's when I started to study therapy and became a therapist. And I really love both doing therapy, doing the deep work. I love working with women in this coaching capacity. And in doing so, it keeps me on my toes and helps me stay healthy, but it also helps me notice the times when I'm forgetting myself and forgetting to do the healthy things that I tell people to do every day. And so I'm really excited for this opportunity to remind myself as well as all of you on what it means, in addition to what Pam has said, and a lot of what she said is right along the lines of what I help my people to understand. One of the very first steps that I take with anybody is helping you to recognize that if you don't have a healthy body and a healthy mind, you can't really do the work to become a better version of yourself. You can't do the work to help yourself be emotionally healthy and to live a life of like well-being. Um, One of the things I tell people is we understand, I think, as human beings, or at least in the Western culture, that sleep, nutrition, and exercise are important for our bodies and to keep our bodies healthy. But what is often misunderstood, or maybe we just don't realize it at all, is our brains need that even more than our bodies do. Our bodies need nutrition, they need sleep, they need exercise, and then up level it a little bit. Our brains use most of our energy, and without those three building blocks, we cannot create the neurotransmitters that it takes for us to be able to function as human beings, at least not well. The one thing about being human is that we can push ourselves hard and we can pretend for a really long time and until we can't. But our bodies will often keep living, and our brains are maybe wishing that we wouldn't. And we don't want to get to that point, right? So, I like to look at emotional wellness as far as just the building blocks that it takes to be able to be your best self as a reservoir. So I'm going to just show you some images if you don't mind. We all have an emotional reservoir of energy that we function on. And because life is what it is, we also have drains and stressors that we endure every single day. We can't escape it. The more we try, probably the more we'll have, because you can't escape the fact that life is hard, that we all have difficulties, and that there are things that we have to deal with every single day. It's like trying to drive a car, thinking that we don't, that when we drive it, it doesn't burn the gas. It does, and we can't deny that, right? And the oil and the filters and all the things that we need to keep our car functioning well. Um, the the neurotransmitters, the at least the exercise, sleep, and nutrition, is kind of determines the state of that reservoir or that gas tank. It would be very different to drive a car with a rusted gas tank than it would be to drive one that actually holds the fuel in it well, right? So we need those building blocks in order to be able to function as as healthy human beings at all. And then it's really important, as you know, when you drive a car, to keep your reservoir filled up. Because I live in St. George, Utah, which is 2 hours away from Las Vegas. And so I use this analogy a lot. If I got in my car and I wanted to go to Vegas, but gas was $5 a gallon, I could not say, never mind, I'm not putting that gas in my car. It's too expensive. I'm just gonna go anyway. I would not make it to Vegas, no matter how hard I tried, at least not in my car. Or I don't have time. So I don't have time to get gas. I'm just gonna go. I also would run out. And that's what we use as an excuse a lot of time. I don't have time to be healthy. I don't have money to fill myself up. It's selfish. How selfish of me to think I can put gas in my car when there are children in Africa that are starving. I mean, I'm just being kind of facetious here, but have you heard yourself say these things? Maybe you have, maybe you haven't. I know I have. I hear lots of people say it. So that logic doesn't work. We can use it all day long, and most of us do. And it's interesting that oftentimes those of us that are in the healthcare industry, even though we might know this and we tell our clients that they need to prioritize themselves, because again, Pam mentioned it, because we're givers and we really are wanting to give our time to other people, we forget that we're also included in that. And so just to keep the logic, you cannot drive your car without gas, without oil, without filters. It doesn't matter how expensive the gas is, and it doesn't matter how much time you have to stop and get gas. Ask my husband. I probably run out of, this is in the past. I probably used to run out of gas more than anybody else that he or I know. And I grew up with my dad as the gas station manager, like I should know better. Anyways, funny story. Okay, so again, life has drains. So we have our tank, we have our full reservoir, but we also have drains, and we are draining every day. And if anybody's ever stepped into the bottom of a reservoir, you know that at the bottom of that reservoir there's mud, gunk, slime, rocks, right? And that is nasty. If you step into a pond with bare feet, it's slimy and it's gross and it hurts your feet and it's not very pleasant. Well, if our reservoir is empty, that's what we have to function on, and we don't get very far. And so it's really important, number one, that we patch the drains, and there's a whole segment I could do on patching drains, and I don't think we have time for that here. But I will say that our drains are made up of our problems or our stressors, and some of those problems are solvable problems. And a lot of times we try to deal with those solvable problems by avoiding them and not solving them. If I have a messy kitchen, it stresses me out. But if I go in my room and close the door, I'm just prolonging the stress. I'm not helping myself, right? I've got to solve the solvable problem if I want to manage that stress. But when we have an unsolvable problem, the healthy way to deal with that kind of stress or that kind of problem is not to try to solve the problem, but we often will do that as well. We kind of confuse the two a lot. We will spend a lot of emotional resources trying to either control another person. Why won't they just, right? Why can't they just understand that whatever it is? Or maybe we've had a trauma in our life and we're diverting resources to that all the time and we're thinking about it, we're reliving it, and that's something that you would want to have somebody help you with because that's going to happen. If you've experienced trauma, you might need help with that. But not getting help with it isn't helping you maintain your reservoir because you're diverting resources to something that you can't change. And that never is helpful. So, healthy management of an unsolvable problem. I'll just give you 4 quick steps and then I'll get to the rest of it and we'll be done. But those 4 things are: number one, to allow the fact that you cannot change it. You have to allow it and accept it and just recognize, I can't do anything about this. And sometimes we think we can, we get confused. You can ask yourself a question: is there anything that I can or should do about this right now? Because oftentimes we might think, oh, yes, I can. I can go give him a piece of my mind, whatever. But should I? Maybe not, right? Probably not. The other one is this going to be important to me tomorrow or in 2 weeks? Like, does this really matter to me? So is there anything I can or should do about this right now? And is it any of my business? I guess is the better way to ask that question. The second thing to do is to notice how you're thinking about the problem and then reframe it. Because oftentimes the way we're thinking about a problem is what's keeping us hyper focused on it. He should not have treated me like that. What a jerk. I mean, of all the nerve, right? And so we're just thinking that all the time. And we drain it. But when we like notice, like I'm giving him all of my power, I don't have any control over what he's doing or she or whoever. And I can take control over what I do in my life. That can switch our focus. Does that make sense? But there's lots of ways that you can plug into that. And again, we don't have time for it right now, but just to notice how you're thinking about it and then switch the way you're thinking about it. The third thing is to practice some form of mindfulness, whether it's deep breathing, whether it's grounding. Using your 5 senses is always a good resource, like getting yourself present in your body by noticing, what are 5 things I can see, 4 things I can hear, 3 things I can feel, 2 things I can taste, 1 thing I can smell, and get back into your body. And then the fourth thing is to distract. And distracting your brain means doing something that takes your whole brain with it. Um, and that's going to take us to fillers. So fillers is what we do because again, we are all draining every day, all day long. And if we aren't filling up every day, we're going to have a problem. So a filler is something that we do that leaves us better off for having done it. There's lots of things that we think maybe make us feel better in the moment. Maybe an addiction or a whole gallon of ice cream or whatever. There's lots of things that we do that don't leave us better off because we've done them, right? So we've got to make that distinction. But anything that we do that leaves us better off is a necessary thing that we need to do every day, and we need to do 3 of those every single day. Now, a distraction, again, is a powerful filler. It's the kind that takes your whole brain to go with it. So what would some of those things be? You can either use the chat or just unmute. Do they have the opportunity to unmute themselves? If not, you can use the chat.
Yes.
Okay. Just rattle off a few things. What are some of the things that you do that take your whole brain when you do them? One for me is I blast my favorite song and I sing at the top of my lungs. That takes my whole brain every time. Reading, some people say. I did this thing on this earlier today. Some of the things I heard was exercise, yoga, practicing the piano, playing the drums, crossword puzzles, calling someone and having a conversation, things like that. And so making a list of those things while you're not drained, while you're not in an emotional crisis, can be really helpful because when you are in crisis, it's hard for you to even think about it. You're going to keep diverting those resources or you're going to be so drained, right? So knowing what those things are when you are in a state when you need them is really helpful. I recommend that everybody make a list of 10 fillers. And then you want to do 3 of them every day. Now, exercise is not only a non-negotiable, It's not only something that you have to do on a regular basis to be able to keep those neurotransmitters, but it actually is, science shows that it's the number one filler. We get the biggest bang for our buck for exercise. The one that's second with that is service of some kind, as long as you're serving for the sake of serving in a healthy way and not as manipulation to get something back or serving because you don't matter. There's different kinds of serving, but if it's honest service, service and exercise are the two biggest bang for your buck. But then listing other fillers, and again, having a list of at least 10 so you know what to choose from. There's lots of people that have forgotten. I don't know what I like to do. So that is your opportunity to go out and explore. Figure out some things that you might want to try. Look at things you used to do. Maybe Google. I've had to Google and say, okay, what do people like to do? And then try it. My last little admonition to you is you don't get to try it just once and decide if you like it or not. Especially if you're in a state of empty reservoir, you're not going to like much because you're empty. So you've got to give it at least, I say, 10 tries before you decide whether you like it or not. Okay, my number one thing I did when I first started this was getting my nails done. And it boosted me enough to be able to figure out more things I enjoyed. So it's not selfish. It's actually selfish not to because you can't give what you don't have. So I'm just going to point out one more thing here and then I'll be done, is when you have your own reservoir filled, you can't fill anybody else's reservoir and they can't fill yours. So you can't expect other people to fill you up. This is your job and your job only. And we don't fill our personal reservoir just so that we can bask in the fullness of our reservoir. Mine is fuller than yours is, or whatever. It's so that we have something to give to our relationships. Anytime we have two people, we have a relationship reservoir. Whether that's you and a spouse, you and a partner, you and a child, you and a client, you and somebody that you're serving. You can't give what you don't have. And so you've got a relationship reservoir. If you want to truly help somebody, you've got to be full so that you can contribute to that reservoir. So I will fight you all day long if you tell me that it's selfish or you don't have time, because you don't have time not to. And that's all I've got.
Oh my gosh, thank you, Cary, so much. Those are just such important messages for us as women, us as people in the healthcare field, and really anyone who is taking care of people, right? Because we all need to fill those things. I loved how you gave us 4 things to do to patch up our drains, because that's a really important thing. And I'm glad you mentioned something like distraction. I think that tends to have a bad connotation, but when it's the right kind of distraction, it's really good for us. So thank you so much. I really appreciate it. If you would like to connect with Cary, we put her website in the chat, and she would love to connect with you more. And I really thank you so much, Cary, for being here tonight. Also, Cary has a free gift for anyone who signed up tonight. We would love to email that to you. So thank you very much, Cary, for doing that. Um, and then one last thing I would like to remind all of you is that we have our beautiful community here on Facebook called the Abundant Life Collective. We would love to meet you there. We would love to get to know you. We'd love to have a one-on-one call with you, a consultation, and figure out some ways that we could help you improve your life. So again, please click on that link in the chat and join us there. And we would be so happy to help you on your journey.